Hi folks, welcome to another terrain building video where we make wargame buildings out of junk and craft store stuff. This is the first of a two-parter. I'm going to go through making a lovely pair of forest cabins on a nice scenic base with some realistic natural materials. I started by measuring and marking out the skeleton of our building, in this case a box that came with some IKEA furniture. I marked out the gables by drawing a band all around the box and then constructed some triangles by dividing the end point into two, drawing a point in the middle at the top, and then connecting it with the band. Then I sliced the gables in with a sharp knife. Be careful when you're working with a knife like this, it's pretty easy to slip and do yourself some damage. Okay. I worked all along the box until what I was left with was two triangles poking out the top. Perfect. Well, almost. Next, I took the wooden doweling and marked it out to the right lengths. What I want is for the logs to alternate between short and long. This will let them overlap on the corners and give us that classic log cabin appearance. The saw I'm using here is a coping saw. Although it's a particularly huge one, it might be easier to use one of the smaller ones. If you're doing this on a table that you care about, or someone else's table, make sure to use some kind of protection. I stacked the logs in place and stuck them onto the box with some PVA glue. Next, I cut two thicker dowels into the right length for some nice vertical posts.
Using an X-Acto knife or a scalpel, I scratched in some wood grain texture.
Honestly, if you can get your hands on a wire brush, it would probably be better to scratch the wood firmly with that instead, then you don't run the risk of slipping and cutting yourself. I marked a bevel onto the post and cut it out with the saw, filed them down and smoothed them off. I clumsily glued a piece of barbecue skewer to the top of the gables to give me somewhere to stick the planks that will make up the roof. It's a little wonky, huh? Well, never mind. Next, I covered the entirety of the roof with polyfiller, or spackle if you're American. This is going to imitate the soil on the turf roof. The whole roof gets a nice thick coating, as well as the plaster on the gables. On to painting. I used a makeup brush and some Doom Bull Brown to give the logs a heavy overbrush. An overbrush is like a dry brush, but you don't remove nearly as much paint, letting it cover nicely while still leaving shadows in the recesses. Perfect for this kind of use. Using a makeup brush for this sort of work is fantastic and wonderfully cheap. This brush only cost me €1. Next, I dry brushed the roof with scale colour Russian uniform. This is a nice desaturated muddy purple brown, which is perfect for soil and the base colour for the plaster. Next up is simply Braun by Scale Color, an incredibly descriptive name. It's not even really brown, it's more of an ochre tan. Anyway, I dry brushed that all over the brown parts, focusing on the plaster specifically. The Doombull brown parts got a heavy dry brush with Tuskull fur, which is the next step along the lightness scale. Nicely brings out the wood grain, although I think it's a bit pink. I progressively lightened the paint with the addition of a bit of the braun on smaller and smaller areas. Okay, next I put the grass and moss on the turf roof. If you don't know what a turf roof is, it's a classic technique for roofing used in log cabins and wooden houses in Scandinavian countries. A layer of birch bark shingles is covered in soil to give it a bit more heft. Looks nice too. The whole roof gets a slathering of thinned down PVA glue. Then I sprinkled a mixture of chopped up moss and grass on top, tapping it off and sprinkling a fresh bunch again a few more times. That's it for the first part. In the next video I'll build the scenic base and change my opinions on roofing. See you then!